I was always undersized in sports. So I was never supposed to play in high school. It was a powerhouse high school. As I mentioned, we won a state championship for the first time ever in our history my senior year. And I was one of the captains. And so I learned how you can just outwork people regardless of what they say about the statistics. And so then I went to college, same thing. Everybody like, man, just go D3, man. Why are you going to go play D2? I started out 4th or 5th on the depth chart, outworked everybody again, found myself a starter again. And I'm like, man, in business, I learned the same thing applies. If you just freaking outwork people, good things happen. At this point, I started to realize if you just outwork everybody, you can control that. Good things are going to happen.
You definitely got to do a Shazier show.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I definitely thought, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to put on it, though. Like,
it don't matter. Just get on, just have one. You know what I mean? And if anything, I thought of this idea, and I feel like Simon and I should both do it. More so, Simon.
And you got the podcast room right next door you could use. You don't have to spend no extra money on that. Just go use
it's so expensive to set these up, but everybody wants a podcast. People see Simon's podcast, they don't realize the work that needs to go into it. But preceding that, they don't realize what they need to have built up. If we don't have a good month, I have to pull back on doing podcasts just to build up to get us back to where we need to be. So it's like, everybody sees time, like time-wise in regard to like my time has to be invested properly, but also in consideration of like the podcast of like, I still believe everybody should try to start one and at any level of their business, because I get recruits. I've gotten 2 or 3 recruits within the first 8 months of doing the podcast, like solid individuals that are like, hey, listen, heard your I can't imagine how many people have hit you up and be like, heard your podcast. I'd love to do what you do. You know, I'd love to, you know, take it. And it's like, one Simon Arias, you know, or one giant individual that comes in and does 5 million AOP over 3 years, you just made $1 million off of a podcast episode. We're live, so my big dog, you know what I mean? Respect out to you. I know he went through some adversity, went through a breakup. So the girl he was with, they ended up breaking up. And long story short, and I don't know, I feel like he'd be comfortable with me sharing.
Let me know if I need to put a call in to him.
Yeah. So
spend some time with him to help him with that. I've been through that in the beginning phases of my career in the business.
I tried to leverage you because I remember sitting in the old white Mercedes you had 4 or 5 years ago, and you telling me, because my girlfriend, it was already rocky. You know those relationships where it's rocky, so it's like the breakup ain't as bad as, you know what I mean, in the midst of it. But she broke up with me when I started doing insurance because she was like, that's not a real job. You know what I mean? Like you're not doing nothing with your life. And I was telling Simon about it, and he was like, looks over, puts his hand on my shoulder, and he's like, you know, doing his head nod. And he's like, he was like, I remember when I first started, you know, I went through a breakup, and years later, she had called me and found out I was a millionaire. And that had just blown me away because I just wanted to come there. I wanted to make $100,000. I had not made any money. I'm broken physically, just 100 pounds. You know what I mean? There was no part of me or my life that was rich at all. You know what I mean? And
no
just
part.
Hearing that, yeah, no,
physically,
zero,
mentally,
nothing was rich at all. You know what I mean? Maybe my ego. And even then, I was so humbled by life. I always tell people, it's like, you know, people will come to me and be like, what should I do with this individual in the business? I was like, let the business beat them. Because it'll beat humility. Like, business will beat somebody into humility or beat them out of the business. Like, a lot of times I don't even need to correct people. It's like, this business is going to beat the hell. Like, there's nothing I could do that business, and not just the insurance industry.
The way to take less ass whoopings is to humble yourself.
Yeah. So it's like, they're going to come regardless. You know what I mean? We could do it in practice, or you can get it in the game. In the game, it's going to hurt way more.
When my girl broke up with me when I first started, she was cheating on me.
Yep.
And I remember being affected by it. You know, now I look at myself and I'm like, I should smack you. But the first day it happened, I didn't go to work for that day, Tristan. Can you believe that?
No, I cannot believe that at all.
I stayed home pouting
in
my apartment.
Yeah.
For a whole day, bro.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what that feel like. Like my whole life, I've never been broken up, or I've been the breaking up or.
You've been the broken upper?
Yeah.
All right.
You never had a bad argument or anything that threw you off?
Yeah, I had bad arguments and stuff like that.
Don't start now, because the main one could count if Michelle gets fed up with your shit. That'll be it. And I'm going to rewind this one and be sitting there with you like, brother, grab this popcorn. Let's rewind right there. You see what you was saying right there?
No, that's not going to happen. That's my wife. That's my wife. You're not getting divorced. Nah, but yeah, my whole life I've been the breaking upper. I haven't been the broken up. So I've heard how it can affect
people.
Affect people.
Oh, bro.
But I haven't.
I think it's one of the biggest things.
I had it coming. It was my turn. I mean, I had been the person to probably break other people's hearts. You know what I mean? Before, so I had one coming my way. But I remember that after that one day, I sat there and had a self pep talk by myself, and I'm like, quit being a punk, quit being a bitch, go to work, take your ass to work tomorrow. And I went to work the next day on fire, like more fired up than I had ever been before, with a chip on my shoulder. Like, man, we about to let them have it. And my vision became, I want to blow up so bad now, just to stick it in her face and show her, you know what I mean, what she lost. And I'll never forget the phone call, dog. She called the office years later in Pittsburgh, and this is back when I used office phones, and you had to get connected from the operator to get sent back, and I'd pick up the office phone, and Nat D sent it back. I remember, and I'm like, whoa, like, man, I answered the phone, it was her. I'm like, whoa. It took me back for a minute, and I heard her voice, and she's telling me like, man, I messed up. I want to move up there. I want to move to Pittsburgh. And I'm like, man, you a good girl. I wish you well, but the ship already sailed. At this point, and I was just starting to talk to Nat. At that time, and I knew it was like, man, I knew we had something going on, but I was waiting for that call, bro. I was waiting on that call. I had envisioned that call happening. I was hoping that call was happening, but I wasn't ready for that call to happen that day. And that has helped me to mentor other young cats that go through that, because I remember what that feeling was like for me, and I usually don't let things like that affect me. So I got a little bit of a soft spot for cats when they go through that. They got 24 hours though.
24-hour rule.
You can't be sulking over this for a week.
Yeah.
Think about the past. The past don't bring you a better future.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, well, you can look back at your past, look at what you've done, but if you look on your past too long, it can't help you make money or help you in the future.
Yeah.
There's too many people sulk on the past and worry about what they did in the past. Like you can change it. You can't change nothing about the past. Like people ask me all the time, like, Ryan, like, what was it like playing in the NFL? And Ryan, do you ever think about when you played in the NFL? And it's like, yeah, I think about it sometimes, or it was great. Like, it's everything you imagine. But, like, if I keep thinking about 5 years ago, like, that's not going to provide nothing for my family now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I feel like a lot of people just need to continue to move forward. Like, continue to get better every day. And, like, all right, I lost this opportunity. But, hey, fuck it. Let me keep going.
Keep pushing.
I love it.
Before we go too much further, because this is a very special episode for me. So first and foremost, I want to introduce my mentor, the CEO of Arias Agencies, Arias Company. I'm starting to embody it. People don't realize we're essentially partners, but I'm always gonna say this is our CEO, and he don't even like being called boss or CEO or things like that. It's like he likes mentor and coach, and but for me, this is the CEO of, who helped me get out the gutter. You know what I mean? Like, you help. When I think of a CEO, I think of a guider, somebody that's a director. You know what I mean? That's just the chief. And with that being said, I can't think of being 18 years old to now almost I'll be 24 in September, and I'll be 5 years in the insurance industry. October 2020. What's this? 22. So October 2017 is when I started. It's almost 5 years. I'll be 5 years in, and when I get the 1099 from this year, it'll be another $1 million roughly. So close to almost $1 million a year I've made since graduating high school. I'll be right around $4 million, and I get chills thinking about that right now, because I was texting my mom the other day. I was like, I can't believe the problems that we have right now. They're blessings. I was like, I'm so grateful, and she's like, wow. I was like, I got so many big problems. I never would have imagined that, I would have an office that cost me $22,000 a month, and that's a big problem. Like, you made half of that when we were growing up in high school for the year. You know what I mean? Like, talking about $1,000 a month, just getting by, food stamps, to where Simon has led me to, like, 5 years out of high school, almost $5 million gross in income. It's insane. I'm not an NFL athlete. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like, where you could relate to. All right, I've been out of high school, I just got a signing, but whatever it might be. And so, Simon Arias, it's been a crazy 5 years. It's been a fast 5. It feels like just yesterday I was sitting in that
Can't believe
Mercedes.
it's been 5 years, dog.
I can't believe it. I feel like I blinked. You know what I mean? And I all I remember was, I think in the same conversation, I think you just said, just focus on winning and everything will take care of itself. And I think that's where all my energy's been is these last 5 years. And I think I'm so more excited for the next 5 years because now I feel like I have an idea of how to do this. And I feel like I'm just now getting started. So I can't thank you enough for getting on the podcast. And the next, it's so awesome simultaneously to bring on two powerful individuals. Now we just started with like an affiliate deal with Shazier agencies, having Ryan Shazier on, growing up and watching you play. I remember going to, and I don't know if you were in the game. I remember going to the Cowboys played the Steelers, and Palomalu was in the game. It was the Cowboys at the Steelers, and my pap took me to the game, and we took the boat over. I don't know what year this would have been, 2012, maybe 2000.
So 2012, I wasn't there yet, but I played. The Cowboys came to the Steelers probably like 2014 as well. No.
Palomalu was in the game. That's how we lost.
So that one, I wasn't in that one.
I wore a Pac-Man Jones jersey when he played at the Cowboys, 21.
Yeah.
I was like 11. I was getting yelled at, like swore at. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Pittsburgh don't play that.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh
like,
don't play that.
It was mad as hell. But it's so incredible to get around just to get around such powerful individuals, and links back to my mentor Simon. Like I'm not the kid where you grow up and you're gonna be sitting on a podcast with Ryan Shazier. So, and it's so humbling, dude. I've met your family. I've taken notes from your dad. I've taken notes from you, and it's so cool because like I always imagine, somebody that's achieved the amount of success that you've had, it's just like, it's almost like, I feel like it's not like a pride thing, but almost like you've hit a level where it's like, I'm too good to like talk to you in a humble way, if that even makes sense. Like where you've just hit a level where it's like, I never would imagine like talking to somebody, that had such a successful career in the NFL, to be around millionaires and to do something like this. It's very special. So Ryan Shazier, Simon Arias, we got him on the podcast. How you guys doing today?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Let's go.
Grateful to be here with both of y'all.
So Simon's in the area. He's visiting. So this is a partnership out here in Chicago, and he'll come out here 2-3 times a year and pour into us. And people don't realize you have 30 offices. How many do you have?
We're in the
give
20s.
Or take? 20s?
We're in the 20s somewhere.
20 offices. I feel like sometimes it takes my whole soul. Like it does. It's not a sometimes. It takes my whole soul to run this one office. So for the fact that he'll come out here and visit all these offices, but I think he visits this one the most. You know what I mean? So out of 20, we definitely get 3 on a. We've only been out here almost 2 years, so we've gotten at least 3 to 4 appearances for the first 2 years, and it's definitely. But every time it's a big jump. I'm like, I know this is gonna be a good time because we're gonna get a jump. So out here pouring into us, out here.
We're taking a limo today.
Sharing some time. We're doing a limo later. We're gonna go out to the city. I'm gonna show you guys Big's mansion. Hopefully we'll have a great time tonight. So we'll get some Italian. You guys like pasta?
Yeah, I like Italian.
I'm looking at you. I'm like, I know.
I like Italian.
I was like, he gotta like Italian. You know what I mean? So I know you like Italian.
I like Italian.
We wanted to mix it up.
I like Italian. We'll work it off in the morning, bright and early.
Oh, how do you guys? When's the last time? Now cold tubs. I always hear different. You've had to done a bunch of cold
Brian
tubs.
ain't down with the cold tubs.
Yeah, so I used to do a lot when I was younger and when
Yeah.
I played, but I have a bad history of cold tubs. Whenever I used to do cold tubs, I would pull a muscle, I would sprain something, I would get hurt.
Yeah.
I have a bad
Stop
history
doing
with them,
cold
so
tubs.
Okay.
I don't really rock with them. I'm more of a hot tub type of guy.
They got a hot.
The thing is, I can deal with them. I have no problem with them.
I was gonna say you
gonna
gotta
see.
have a. It's different because it's ice. Y'all got ice in it. Like Marcus got that new cold tub. It looks like there's ice in it.
Yeah.
We got them in the new crib. Hot tub, cold tub.
You got the.
I want to see.
Are you
if
gonna get the
Brian
same
will
one as
Get
Marcus?
in there with me one time, huh?
Marcus looks like his has ice in it. It's got to be
Cold plunge.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
cold,
it's got to
it
be
look like it.
15, 20 degrees colder
Mucho
than
frio.
Lifetime. So it looks nuts. It looks insane. So
I love it.
Yeah.
It's-
I've never been a fan. Like, it's gonna be a while since. Like, it's probably gonna be over 7 years because I got hurt 5 years ago and I wasn't even getting them when I was playing. But I could deal with them. I wasn't a big fan,
yeah.
but yeah,
Were you doing any yoga when you were playing
I was doing a little bit.
Little bit of yoga?
I'll do it in the off season. Yeah.
with an instructor, or just mess around and just stretch out yourself and call it yoga?
So I would just literally just go to like a yoga class. Like,
Yes.
That they'll have throughout the day, and I'll just go in like the earliest class that they had, and
Yeah.
then just go to the facility after.
Was there any guys in the league that had like a night shift type of routine? Like, oh, I'll do my workouts and stuff at night, or is that like?
So AB is one of the guys, Antonio Brown. He was one of the guys. He's kind of like Floyd when it comes to working out. It's just like when he's going to work out regardless.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like whenever he feels like it. Like sometimes Floyd Mayweather would just work out at 2 a.m.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like AB's kind of the same way. Like he has a trainer. He'll just hit his trainer up and like, I want to go work out. And so he was one of those type of guys. You know, he's one of the hardest workers. But like you can mess around and work out at 10 p.m., 1 a.m.
But that's like, these are rare. You've named two very rare athletes that are like genetically like gifted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like these guys are, so like I know for like our business, and really not even for our business, most people that I like meet, like unless they're like artists or creative, I feel like getting up early is the best route.
Yeah,
You know what I
100%.
mean? Like,
The majority of the athletes I spend a lot of time with, and most people I spend a lot of time with, they like to get in early.
Yes.
Because they feel like they like to get their, like basically, you feel more accomplished when you get like work out in the morning.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, build that confidence initially.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, it's almost like you achieve something at the beginning of the day. So once you start your day off, it's kind of like you already are successful to begin the day off.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might not make sense.
Building
but
momentum.
Yeah.
Getting that train moving.
Yeah.
So as we paint the picture for the audience, for the people listening, Simon, where were you born?
Youngstown, Ohio.
Youngstown,
St.
Ohio.
Elizabeth's Hospital. Shout out North Side.
And then from there, what was like getting into elementary school, middle school? Like what was those first few years? You probably won't remember much, but from what your mom and everything has told you, what was like the beginning of life like for you? Was that the hardest points for you guys?
Man, I think my great-grandmother, we lived with my great-grandmother. So my mom had me at 19, and we lived with my great-grandmother, who was 100% Italian. And the house we ended up selling for $11,000. So it was in on the east side of Youngstown in a rough part of town. You know, at the time that I came up, early 90s would have put me, 10 years old into, starting to become into a teenager. You could look up, during that period of time, we ended up winning an award in Youngstown, and it was the #1 city for the murders in the whole United States per capita.
Yeah.
Which means for the amount of people that live in your city, how many people out of them, the bodies living there got murdered.
Yeah.
And I think we had, in a small town, we had 70, murders that year over a series of, a couple years. Car got stolen out of the driveway. Paper bag in the back window, of the car. Hand-me-downs, cars that it was $1,000, $2,000. We had a Chevette with the all blue with the red Chevette on the windshield and the red club, to match, because we got smart because people was still in the whip, so we started putting the club on the steering wheel.
When did you start playing sports?
I started playing sports at like 6. They had me playing football, so I had like this perfect tutorial to be able to relate to all different people in the world when I look back on it. So I grew up in the hood around mostly black people, some Hispanic people. My dad was 100% Venezuelan, straight from Caracas, Venezuela, straight from Venezuela. First generation, here in America, barely spoke English. I didn't really meet him as an adult till I was 28 years old in Miami at the Fountain Blue at a company convention. I've been to Venezuela once when I was 11 years old. I went with my mom. I remember that process. But my grandmother cut hair. My grandfather was in the steel mills, and then he ended up working at the hospital. It ended up being a team effort for me. I was an only child, so good thing is everybody got to kind of focus on me to get me out of that situation. So I got my mom working 2-3 jobs. I got my grandmother cutting hair, my grandfather working at the steel mill, and then my great-grandmother, I'm spending most of the time at home, with her. And so I was raised in that house till we were 13. We moved a couple times, other little small stints. We stayed in different apartments and stuff, but we pretty much, that was home base until I went into high school. We bought a house for $32,000 going into my freshman year of high school. But when I say I had this mix of all these different people, so I went to public school, and then they started sending me to a private school, a Catholic school in the city, to give me a little bit better of an education. And so I started to have the last couple years going into high school, I had the experience of like, all right, you got to wear a uniform, you got to tuck your shirt in, and there's a little bit more diversity, where you're at, and a little bit higher expectations, where you're at, and you got to learn how to function around these people because you came from functioning over here, and that ain't gonna cut it, over here. And so I had a little bit of a rough transition, there, but that started to teach me how to deal with, different people from different walks of life. So 8th grade, I started getting in a bunch of trouble. We're stealing cars, we're driving, drinking, smoking, having sleepovers, all that kind of stuff in 8th grade. And my mom's like, man, you either are going to I'm going to move you way out of the city somewhere that you hate, or you can stay in the city, but you got to go to Ursuline. And so Ursuline was the Catholic school in Youngstown, right on the north side of Youngstown by Youngstown State. So it's like right in the mix of everything. It's like you might see a crackhead on the corner, dead body, on the corner, but then you got this school that's decent, right there, right in the mix of it. And so they had powerhouse athletics there. Like this is where all the athletes went, where people blame you on recruiting, and stuff like that. We had, out of our starting offense and defense, we ended up putting, I think, 23 people out D1, from my high school, sophomore through senior. And if you look at our, offense and defense at any time, we had more people of color on the field than not, which is rare when you think, man, Catholic school, you're probably not going to have that type of diversity. I don't know where you're going to find a more diverse situation like that. It's just weird. It's hard to explain, what that experience was like. And so I went to that school, but I'm still hanging with my old friends. I'm still kicking it with Perm. I'm still kicking it with, with my people over there. So my house gets shot up when I was 16. In and out of juvenile, at high school. The only thing that's keeping me afloat is my love for the game of football and my coach. My coach ended up being like the main person for the night shift at the Juvenile Justice Center, Coach Roland Smith. And one day he came in and he had to get me out of the cell and spend time with me. I was locked up with my own coach, who was like a severe disciplinarian. So I was like scared to death of the cat. He was like 6'4", 275, no body fat, like bald head, just looked like he'd rip your body parts off. And he showed me so much love, at that time. He started to just kind of mentor me on the side and develop me a little bit on the side from a man's perspective as a coach. And so I think that helped me get through that transitional period. I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to play at Mercyhurst, full scholarship to go play football out there, Division II school in Erie, Pennsylvania, which got me out of Youngstown, which is what I needed. I needed to get the hell out of there. So I got out of the city, ended up going to Mercyhurst, got redshirted my first year, started 4 years at strong safety, and then somebody called my resume, and that somebody was Marcus Smith. I drove to Cleveland for an interview, took the job, and the rest was history. I've been at American Income ever since.
And then before we jump over to your upbringing, Shazier, what was the hardest adversity up until graduating college that you had to go through? Like, what was the hardest thing you had to overcome in your childhood, in a sense?
Me?
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing that I had to overcome in my childhood, and you understand this is me, I'm going to say I had traumatic experiences where my neighbor showed up at our door in the middle of the night, bleeding to death, got stabbed by her boyfriend, blood all over my wall, blood all over the door. We're calling 911. I'm 10. Those like traumatic experiences, some of those things I can remember. Losing friends, that got murdered that I was, close with. But all of those things, I don't think none of those can compare to my situation with my mom, who was a great person and worked her ass off. You had 2-3 jobs and trying to figure out how to deal with me. Over that time, she was married once, got married when I was 16, dated a couple other guys, before that. And so I think for me as a young person, being the man of my house at such a young age, having my mom date other guys, it wasn't a lot, but I remember, 3 guys, in my life, and none of them was my dad, and none of them ended up really making it long term with us. I remember that being a little bit of an adversity, for me, that brought me to have certain feelings of protective over my mother, protective over others, certain experiences that would happen in those relationships that would cause me to be a little bit more angry as a child, when you see arguments happen or something like that, and it's not your own blood, and you feel like you're young and you can't do nothing about it, but you want to do something about it, and you start to do something about it, but you're still young. Those moments, I think, were some of the moments that would bring me a little bit of some of the most adversity that I never would bring up really or talk to anybody about, because I don't want my mom to feel bad about it. I don't want people to know, really what was going on. But I had like a mean streak, in me, like a super mean streak. And then I was super protective over my mom's. My mom was pretty, growing up, and I would be like over the top, like super protective, like don't even want you to even look at my mother. You know what I mean? And it all spurred from, as a kid, seeing her in a relationship with a couple guys, and them having an argument or two, and me knowing that it wasn't my real dad. That whole dynamic, trying to find myself as a man without a real man leading me in the right direction, I think was probably my biggest adversity. And people stepped in the gap, to help me, grandparents and coaches, stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, it made me a better father today, right now, because there's no way that I would put myself in jeopardy to not wake up in my home with my kids, every day, with my wife there every day. And there's no way I would allow myself to be like a non-existent dad to my kids, no matter what circumstance, because I know how it impacted, me.
And I want to talk on that too. I'm curious on how to raise kids. I think about that for 100 years from now.
I like this.
Now, for you, Shazier, born in Florida?
Yes, sir.
So what part of Florida were you born in?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Fort Lauderdale, Florida?
Yeah.
Now, you had a little bit of a different upbringing.
Yeah, so with my upbringing, I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I started playing football when I was about 5 years old. So the one thing that's a little bit different from me than a lot of other people is that I kind of, like Simon's story is a little bit different than mine. I was blessed to have both of my parents growing up, there all the time. But at the age of 5, I had something called alopecia. So I was literally, I've been bald since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
So being bald at 5, a lot of people may be like, oh, that's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. But it's not that big of a deal when you're like 20, 28.
Yeah, no,
30.
that's true.
But when you're 5, everybody's judging you. Everybody's thinking something wrong with you. Everybody think you have cancer or a disease or something like that. So my whole life, I kind of went through that adversity of always being the kid that was a little bit different than everybody else.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I've been playing football since I was about 5 years old. That was one area, like a coping mechanism for me. Like if I got angry, if I got mad and things like that,
just hit somebody.
I can just go play football.
Yeah.
I can like store my energy to play football. We ended up moving to Texas when I was in middle school for about 3 years, so my dad can go get his his master's degree to be a pastor.
Yep.
So my dad went to the University of Baylor, and then we ended up coming back to Florida. As I came back to Florida, it was right around middle school, getting ready for high school. A doctor told me that I wasn't going to be able to play football because I had scoliosis. So if people don't know what scoliosis is like a curvature in your back.
Yep.
And most people's back is like a straight line. Mine was kind of like, it's not as bad as an S, but it was almost like a S.
Yes.
The way my back was, my vertebrae was aligned. So I had a kind of the adversity of, me being bald, then now me saying I can't play football, I would have to have surgery because of my back.
Yeah.
And then as I was continuing to, then we just talked to another doctor, got some more tests done. I ended up getting some more second opinion. So I was able to play football again. But, it just, my whole story was kind of just being based around football, because like my dad, he coached football, but he was also a pastor. So he helped like train me and coach me while I was actually, playing for other coaches. So like he wasn't like my coach for my team. He just coached me.
Yeah.
So it really helped me. It really helped me out a lot.
Like a personal coach, like a special position coach.
Yeah, because my dad understood football, so like we'll just talk about football, and he'll help like develop my.
Did he play at a high level?
No, he just played college. My dad, when he was younger, they didn't really have the funds, so instead of going to college, my dad went to the military.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but he still loved the game of football so much that he wanted to still coach and help out.
Yeah.
So he would still help me out and really just teach me the ins and outs of, the football, like linebacker position and the defense to understand the scheme and why people do what. So it helped me kind of understand football. Then once I got to high school and I was approved to start playing football again, man, I just started. I went to this one school called Blanchilli at first. It was so we stayed. So my mom don't like to say this, but we stayed in like the hood. But it was like like when they're kind of like gentrifying the area.
Yeah,
it's like one area is real nice and one area is still hood. So like we had just got a house that was recently built. It was a nice house. I don't know how much my parents bought it for, but like literally the house was on the corner. It was a real nice house, but you can look outside the house and see that like my neighbor's house is hood. So my mom, I be like, we stayed in the hood, and my mom used to say like we didn't stay in the hood, and it was like, Mom, like when I go to the park or like if I look at my neighbor's house, it's like I don't know what you call that, but I know that's hood to me. That's hood to everybody else in this community, So it was a school there called Blanchilli. Patrick Peterson, he plays it for the. He played cornerback a long time. He might go to Hall of Fame. He played there as well, and my parents was like, "We don't want you to go there. We don't want you to go there. We don't want you to go there." I ended up going there. My first year, I had a 3.8 GPA, but I got in like 4 fights because I'm bald in the high school. Like it's not a lot of bald high schoolers. You know what I'm saying? So like I kept getting in fights and I kept getting in trouble. My parents were like, we don't want to deal with this. So I transferred to another school. It's called Plantation High School. It's a little bit more diverse. And then basically my godfather, he was the head coach of the team. And then ever since then, I started just really honing in on my craft and just becoming like really good at football. And then the year after I left, I transferred and then went to Plantation. I started getting offers from any school you can name, like Florida State, Alabama, Ohio State.
Why'd you pick Ohio State over Alabama?
So when I was getting recruited, I was committed to Florida at the time. So I was committed to Florida for like 2.5 years. And when I talked to Nick Saban on the phone, Nick Saban was like, hey,
So since your sophomore year, you was already committed to Florida.
So it was like the end of my sophomore year. So basically, like going into my junior year, I went to Florida and I was like, I think I'm gonna go here. So then basically junior and senior year, the whole year I was pretty much committed to Florida. And I was getting recruited, and the reason I didn't go to Alabama is. This is a stupid reason, and if I go back and look at it now, it makes sense. But Nick Saban was like, hey, Ryan, you could come here and compete for a starting job, right? So when he said that, I was like, there was a freshman that went there the year, like, it was a guy that was already there at the time named C.J. Mosley. Both of us got drafted the same year. He got drafted, but he was a freshman at the time, and he just started. Like, he just started. And then there was a guy named Dante Hightower who played in the NFL for a very long time. He was starting there at the same time. So I'm like, there's only two, like at my position, there's only 2 spots that can start. I'm like, you have a freshman starting and you have a sophomore starting. So I was like, how can I come in there and compete for a starting spot when I know these 2 guys start? But it wasn't, but the thing is, understanding what he was saying, it was saying like basically like if you're good enough, you will play.
Yeah, results.
Yeah, but as a kid, I wasn't like scared or anything. But I was like, I felt like he was like when it comes to college recruiting, they tell you what they want you to hear. Yeah. They'll tell you, oh, you'll be number 1, you'll be starting, you could be the best player we ever had. You'll get there, you're 4th on the depth chart, you're wearing number 56. Like that's how recruiting is. Bro. That's how it really is. Like when it comes to like college football. So when he said that, I was just like, man, you just feeling me fluff. Like you feel that you basically saying bullshit. You know.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is, I think he was more like, hey, you know, if you're good enough, you're gonna have an opportunity to play a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he didn't say it like
he
that.
wouldn't promise.
But he wasn't.
Did you?
He didn't promise. But the thing is, it's just the way his delivery, the way he said it. I was just like, I don't trust it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So then I ended up going to the university because the thing is, I didn't play linebacker in college. I mean, high school. I played defensive end. So he was saying, hey, Ryan, you could possibly start at one of the best universities in the country at a position that you never played. So I was just like, I feel like that's just too much. Like not too much, but I just felt like it didn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So then while I was talking to all these other coaches and it was like, hey, it's Ryan, you could possibly be playing as a freshman, but you might not start. But as you come in early, you're going to learn, and then the better you get, you could play. So when the coaches started telling me that, I was like, all right, cool, that makes sense because, like, I didn't play this position before. I still have to learn this position, and you're telling me that I'm going to start over guys that are already starting. You know what I'm saying? So it was just it wasn't that I was scared. It was just like, hey, I want to basically understand a little bit better. So then when I committed to Florida, Coach Meyer resigned, and then I had like 2 weeks to decide what school I was going to go to. I visited Ohio State and I visited LSU. When I visited both of the schools, my visit at LSU was a much better visit. I had a good time. We went out to club. You know, it was like a lot of beautiful women, like a lot of kids.
So
on
how old
campus.
were you though?
18.
So you can get in the club at 18?
Bro, when you're getting recruited, they can help you with whatever you need.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So.
They got you in the club.
Yeah, they got you in the club. And if you think about it, Baton Rouge is a college, like it's like a college town. It's not Chicago. You know what I'm saying? It's like
I grew up in Arkansas, Louisiana, right there. I remember them playing. They play for the Gold Boot.
Yeah, right.
Yep,
yeah,
the
so
Razorbacks and LSU.
So Baton Rouge it's not New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? It's not a big city, but like if they're like, hey, we're thinking about this kid might come to LSU, can you let him in? They'll be like, oh yeah, come in. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like bars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had a good time. There's a lot of beautiful women. All the guys were there. We were just joking around. But then I went to Ohio State. It was -4 degrees when I visited because it was in December. It was -40 degrees. The Ohio State was on quarters, not semesters. So quarters, quarters back then, they got out of school earlier. So there was no kids on campus, and the team was leaving for the bowl game. So I really didn't spend time with the team when I visit.
Okay.
So when I visit there though, they put you with guys like they help you with your recruiting visit to make you want to stay there. And the guys that I spent my time with, I really felt like their upbringing was very close to mine. Like they like the way they were brought up, they like weren't super hood. They weren't like obviously some of them made it from nothing, you know what I'm saying? But it's just it's different type of people. You get what I'm saying? Like it could be somebody from the middle class or lower middle class from Chicago. They act different than somebody from O Block, or they act different from somebody in who's rich in Chicago. Like it's just different people, and I feel like the people that I was hanging out with were like lower middle class. Some might have came from nothing. They probably didn't have the funds, but I just felt like the people that I was around, I felt more family-like to me compared to all the other schools that I was at, and it just made me feel comfortable. And Coach Trestle at that time was the coach, and it's just like to this day, he's somebody that still remembers my parents' names.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like he coached me for 4 months. And he still remember my parents' names. Well, I know it's coaches that coached me for more than 4 months don't know my parents' name.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I went there.
Yep. That's the Maxwell. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
So that's dope. Now, before I jump back over to you, Simon, what was the hardest adversity you had to overcome in your childhood up until graduating college?
I think the hardest adversity for me is, like, we live in a society of want to be liked. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially as a kid, I don't know a kid that doesn't want to be liked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So me being different my whole life was a little bit hard for me to adjust to. You know, so because like I was bald, you know, and It just, like, obviously I was cool with it because I know everybody had adversity. My parents always told me, like, everybody goes through their own adversity, right? Yours is just being seen, while everybody else's is more hidden. Like, if somebody has cancer, like, if I'm a kid walking down the street, I don't know if this person has cancer or that person has cancer or this person is having a bad day or that person's having a bad day. But everybody, when they're walking down the street, can see, hey, this 6-year-old is bald.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's something wrong with that 6-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I feel like just growing up with that, it kind of made me just kind of understand that a lot of people have adversity, but it also just kind of made me almost very friendly because I didn't take shit from nobody, but I just was like, hey, man, like, it just made me just like, hey, be really open, like really open to like getting to know people because I had to always open up to let people know like there's nothing wrong with me. I'm good. Like I'm good. Like like it sucks because like most people are like, man, it's some bullshit. Like this is going on. This is going on. Like my whole life, I had to be like, no, I'm good. Like there's nothing wrong with me. Like it's like so it's like it's almost like reverse. You know, it's kind of weird, but it's just that's kind of how my life was growing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel it. So you've graduated college at this point, Simon, and Marcus calls your resume. What's your first 30 days in the insurance industry look like?
Mayhem. You know, I'm an all-in type of person. You know, so it's, you know, we'll see people in our business now and, you know, they'll kind of stick their toe in or they'll wait 6 months to move or, you know, or whatever. It's like, I just was like, man, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all in. So I moved right next to the office, which I had no family there, no friends there, no nothing. I moved right around the corner from the office, signed a 1-year lease. And so I had to make it. It was like not even an option for me. In my mind, I wasn't even scared.
Did you make any sales up to this point?
Nah, I didn't make any sales before I moved there. So I just moved there.
That's fast.
Signed my apartment, you know, lease.
Yep.
And signed a full 12-month lease. And before I even started training class, you know,
roommates or
in
anything.
the place. No roommates yet, no nothing.
Yep.
And so my first 30 days, I worked 7 days a week. I didn't have anything else to do. I moved right next to the office. I went to work as early as I could get to work and stayed as late as I could as late as I could work. And I had a bunch of success. You know, my first month, I started December of 2005. And based on the way I carried myself and them knowing that I was from Youngstown, the first place they put me, my first lead pack was in East Cleveland. And so East Cleveland is, you know, the rougher part of Cleveland. Where Bone Thugs and Harmony, you know, is from. Anybody that remembers Bone.
Love Bone Thugs.
And MGK and, you know, like the East Cleveland. And I wrote 14,000 on a month where there's Christmas in it in my first month back 17 years ago on foot, you know, in a car driving out to my appointments and stuff.
What car were you driving?
I was driving a pearl white Cadillac with gold D's and V's on it and some TVs in the headrest from some extra money I had saved up from my old sales job that I used to have.
Let's go. Now, did you have heat?
I did take a gun in the home with me.
I meant if you had like heat in the car.
Oh, heat in the car. I thought you meant was I packing heat. I took a gun in the home with me, and they found out about it.
Yeah.
So they called me in the office. And they're like, Simon, is it true? We're hearing that you're taking a gun, you know, with you into the homes and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. I said, you know, y'all got me in East Cleveland, you know, over here and stuff. And so I'm from Youngstown. So I'm bringing it. So if y'all don't want me to carry the gun, you got to change my area, you know, somewhere. But I ain't going out there without, you know, having some heat.
Yes.
And so they moved my area. They moved me in January. And I liked my area, actually, but I just was going to have to be on the same page with them with what they wanted me to do. And so they changed my area in January, and the momentum, you know, continued. I did good, but I had to work real hard for every sale. Like, I wasn't a high, crazy closer, you know, to begin with. I wasn't writing big deals or nothing like that. I just was outworking everybody. I was giving a bunch of presentations and outworking, you know, people the whole time. And I didn't really break out until March.
Yeah.
for March Madness. That was like my breakout month when I started.
What
to have
separated?
bigger months? Competition. Yep. Marcus telling me that I had to win.
Yep. Who was the
top dog at the time was Zach.
Yeah.
Zach was one of the top dogs. I think he took off half the month. He was always crushing it. So I got lucky, that month as a person 4 months in the game. And but there was a bunch of top dogs, at that time, and I ended up winning March Madness my 4th month in the business, and there was no other brackets. It was just 1 month, one bracket.
Is Zach still here?
Zach he retired a couple of months ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
From the business.
Now, your first year, what'd you make?
187.
So what'd you end up? How does this work? How does somebody listening in simplify it down to like how to do insurance for dummies? 187 in the first 12 months. What does that look like?
Yep. So really, I could just break it down into like 90-day segments.
Okay.
So my first 90 days, I obsessed over sales.
Okay.
Just straight everything that I could do to master sales, sitting in on other people's workshops, role playing by myself, watching videos, giving presentations, just obsessed with finding the answer to sales. Anytime that I wouldn't make a sale, I would get so frustrated that it was like I had to find the answer now. Like I wouldn't let it go until 2 days, me not finding the answer as to why this beat me, just like in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I get submitted or I don't finish, it's like I'm not waiting until next week. Like I'm hitting somebody up right now. Like tell me what did I miss there? You know what I mean? And it's usually inches. You know what I mean? Something small. And people don't make those adjustments because they're not asking on those inches. They're relying on, I just learned next practice, or I learned, and months go by and they never got it mastered. You know what I'm saying? And so the first 90 days, I asked a lot of questions. I was never cool with not making a sale and just letting it go. I would always want to know why. What could I have done better? And so at the end of like a 3-4 month period, I felt like I had sales like pretty good wrapped up, to where I was closing over 50% of the people, one of the top salespeople in the office. I feel like I had sales down. I didn't love the sales aspect of the game. I knew that I was going to fall in love with leadership. So then I got promoted, and the next 90 days became about training. So I put everything I had into training people, and I was able to make like 3 people super successful in that next 90-day period, to where my group of 4 of us was out writing whole MGA deals, with 15, 20 people. Our group of 4 would go out there and drop 40 grand in a week, 50 grand in a week, 25,000 every single week, consistently out of a small group, of people. So I think at that point I started to catch Marcus and them's attention of like, whoa, like something this little cat's doing. These people are coming out writing a shit ton of business. And all I was doing was role playing with the people a lot. And I wouldn't let them pass, if you split the presentation up into say 6 parts, I wouldn't let them pass part 1 and move on to part 2 until I knew part 1 was mastered. So we may spend a whole day on part 1, and then next day you may not make it past part 2. And I would make them start from part 1 to get it all the way through part 2. And by making it harder on them through the process, I felt like my people were so much more prepared, because the more that you sweat and practice, the less that you bleed in the game. And so I felt like I was having people come out and have more success out of the gates because of my training style that I was training people, with. Yep. So that next 90 days was just developing a couple beasts, not a lot of people, but a couple animals that now they're making money, they're loyal, they're grateful, and we're all on the same page. And so then I got my MGA contract. 7 months in the game was like the bigger, larger leadership contract. At that point, they wasn't even giving these out. Like you couldn't even get these things without naming your firstborn child, after the person that gave you the promotion. I mean, it was like they ain't even giving them out. Don't even happen. So I got that promotion, and then I started to recruit real heavy. At that point, I just locked myself in the office, started to call resumes, got a couple of my college teammates in the door that I played college ball with, and added, you put a couple people from resumes, couple college teammates, couple of the people I already had. All of a sudden, I got a team of 12, 15 people, and those 12, 15 people would go out there and have $50,000 weeks, $60,000 weeks. And so I think in my first 6 months of that first year, so I started December of 2005, so I'm talking 2006, I made 187. That year, I would say the first 6 months, I probably made 60 grand, and then the last 6 months, I made 120, 130 grand was all in leadership. By the time I was done with my 9th month in the business, I was already pretty much not writing a ton of business myself. I didn't have to sell a lot. I had a big team. I had people writing a bunch of business. And the rest, from there was just recruiting and developing people. I got to be an RGA within 12 months. I had an office in Toledo that they allowed me to help with that was struggling a little bit, and I would drive back and forth to that office. And then that rolled right into the second year. Columbus became an opportunity, and I was a little bit over 12 months in the game, and I moved to Columbus with 3 people and started that office from scratch. And within 6 months, we had that place doing $100,000 weeks. Not every week, but we were hitting $100,000 in a week almost every month, once or twice a month.
What did you do your first year in total sales?
How much ALP?
Yep.
I think we did about $2 million.
$2 million? And then your second year, what'd you guys do total ALP, total sales?
Almost $4 million.
So, and that was 20 years ago, you know what I mean? Taking inflation, you could just double those numbers off top. But today, I know, like, if you ripped $2 million, you're going to make closer to probably 300, 400 on the low end.
The game got so much easier, man. The game
easier, and they pay you more.
They pay you way more. The game got so much easier, and I have no hate at all about it. I'm happy that's what it's all about, because people that were here 20 years before me, could probably look at the same thing in the hand that I was dealt.
Yes.
And be like, oh man, this cat had it easy compared to what we had to do, and then we're going to be looking at people, you're going to be looking at people in 10 years and be like, man, they got it easy compared to what we had to do.
Yes.
And I think that's how you know a system is working the right way. That's what I want.
What was your first year like opening your own office?
In Columbus?
No, when you became an owner. Yes.
When I came to Pittsburgh, man, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was 24 years old. My mom quit her job, and man, my mom had only just started to make good money like the last 3 years. My last couple years of college, my mom got promoted. She worked her butt off and was a district manager. She started making $70,000 a year in women's clothing. She was a district manager for women's clothing store, Charlotte Roos. And she quit her job and to come help me in Pittsburgh. So I got all this pressure of I'm 24, I'm starting this office. My mom quit her freaking job that took forever to get to just to back me. She was going to help with PR, do PR. And I had 3 people and my mom's in an office. I didn't wait. I was supposed to wait till Monday. They were going to show me offices on Monday. And Friday, I was calling around. Nobody would show me an office on Friday. So I got up early on Saturday and drove to Pittsburgh and didn't wait until Monday. And I got somebody to let me into an office. And they let me in the office. And I took the first one that I really liked and signed a 5-year lease on the spot. Didn't know what I was doing. And signed a 5-year lease on the place. It ended up being right next to Italian restaurant, Pizza Roma, where Nat D would end up.
Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still there. Same office, same restaurant.
I feel like you got to get some footage there.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I get such a great feeling being in both of those places because that's where the real come up happened. And it just was, it was 7 days a week, dog. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I had no fear of failure, even though in March of 2008 is when the economic crisis happened.
Yes.
So that's when depression, recession, all of that stuff happened. My first year in business and the country was in economic shambles. And we crushed it, man. We killed it. We murdered it. I got blessed with finding some people in Pittsburgh that had blue collar roots, so they had real good work ethics, such as Matty D and Tommy Vina, and Justin would end up coming, within that year, Justin Adams. And so I just got lucky, man, with a real loyal crew of people around me that were on the same mission, and we just worked, man. We just worked constantly. I had no fear of not having success because I knew what had happened. At that point, I was always undersized in sports. So I was never supposed to play in high school. It was a powerhouse high school, as I mentioned. We won a state championship for the first time ever in our history my senior year, and I was one of the captains. And so I learned how you can just outwork people regardless of what they say about the statistics. And so then I went to college, same thing. Everybody like, man, just go D3, man. Why are you going to go play D2? I started out 4th or 5th on the depth chart, outworked everybody again, found myself a starter again. And I'm like, man, in business, I learned the same thing applies. If you just freaking outwork people, good things happen. At this point, I started to realize if you just outwork everybody, you can control that. Good things are going to happen. And so no fear came in Pittsburgh for me starting out, even though I didn't know shit, for two reasons. One is I knew I was going to outwork everybody. I was working too hard to not win. And then the second thing was I had great mentors in Jim and Marcus that was still, one phone call away. Anything that I would ask them provided a little sense of peace to me. Guys that already had experience in the business, knowing that they had my back, knowing that we had a good relationship because I didn't do them dirty, on the way out. I paid them respect on the way out and didn't do anything that I wouldn't want done to me on the way out. And so that kept our relationship strong.
So I think this can apply to all industries. And I think, a lot of younger individuals, people in general, but younger individuals will look at the head coach position, the owner position, and perceive that it immediately comes with more money, or just overall that it comes with more money. And for the most part, maybe on a growth side of things. But for them listening right now, your advice, being in ownership and seeing people get rich, maybe in ownership or under ownership, if you've got the opportunity in the industry or whatever business you're in to scale and make millions or make what you want to make, what's your advice for those people? Do you think, if they're dabbling on it, maybe I should go be an owner, or maybe they should get rich within that already built up business? How do you? That's
a really good question, man. So here's what I'll say, and it's not a direct answer. I'm just going to give people enough information to make their own, decision for themselves, because it's not a one size fits all answer. And so, I was mentioning today in Chicago how Michael Jordan became a billionaire, not because he was the owner of the team, but because he was the best player in the game. And that brought him billions and $1 billion and so much money over time that then he bought a team because he had already built up so much success. There's college football coaches right now that make more money than NFL head coaches right now, but they're in college. And so sometimes meaning that you own it doesn't mean that you're going to make more money. So it depends on what are you trying to do? What is your goals? And so, most of the people that I know that have become millionaires in American income aren't only the owners. I know some owners, that are millionaires, but I've watched more millionaires become that were not the owners, which is a proven system, that you want to be a part of. I'm for my first 5 years, as an owner, some of my top people made more money, than me, net. And still to this day, I think a lot of our top dogs make more money than 90%, of the owners out there. And so I don't think that, if you look up, the millionaires in the insurance industry or millionaires in general, not all of them did it on their own. They did it becoming a part of something else. And so I think we're in an entrepreneurial type business where you are an owner regardless. It's about, do I want to be an owner on a college scale? Do I want to coach Alabama and make $7 million a year as Nick Saban, at Alabama? Do I want to coach Ohio State, or would I rather coach the Jets just because it's in the NFL? And so sometimes the answer is I just, something in my mind always told me I wanted to coach the Jets, or I wanted to be in the NFL. And there's upside, in that, but I don't think that it needs to be that way if people think that, because you don't automatically, like as a head coach in the NFL, you automatically come in and you sign a contract and you're making millions. And as a head coach in this NFL, when you sign that contract, you come in and you make less money than you made the last 3 years prior, probably for the next 3 years as an owner, because you got to invest into the business, and there's more things that you got to take care of and stuff like that. And so I think that it's different strokes for different folks. And, me personally, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. But I know what I coach young people to do, and I would coach young people to do in any business, no matter what you're doing right now, listening to anything. Find the best coach and the best leader that you could find and get around those people for a while, and then make any decision you want to make. But I just follow whoever's the best leader, be around the best leader that you could be around the best coach that you could possibly be around. And then from there, I would make some moves if you want to make moves.
And probably for them to examine the definition of best too, because there's a lot of rich guys out there that maybe
Yep.
aren't the best with their wives
Yep.
or with their kids.
So important for you to bring up, man. You know, when I say, you know, the best, you got to look at what they have in their life and where they're at in their life. And do you want everything in their life, or do you just want that part of their life? So if they got a bunch of money and they got a jet, but they've been divorced 4 times, you know, I ain't hating on nobody. Understand, my grandfather was married 5 times, and my grandfather was the closest thing that I've ever had to a dad, and I love him to this day. Rest in peace. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I ain't hating on nobody. I'm just saying, if you don't want that, you know, then maybe you need to look at other avenues. And so I would try to find a coach and a mentor that has and embodies as much as you can possibly have in all aspects of life.
Yes.
You know, physically, mentally, spiritually, relationally, financially, you know, finding somebody that you could admire and look up to in those avenues, or be prepared to be mature enough to compartmentalize. You know, most people aren't strong enough to say, all right, I'm going to follow this leader, but he's wilding out in these areas, but he's good in these areas. I'm not going to wild out with him over in these areas. I'm just going to take the good, you know, from these areas. Usually you end up, if you're around your coach and you really spending the time you need to spend with your coach, you need to be doing everything they're doing.
Yes.
And if everything they're doing ain't good, you know, chances are you're going to end up getting caught in that trap. And so find the person, you know, over the production a little bit.
Yes. So as we start to wrap up here, let's pull back, Shazier. So what about, I want to go into your first 30 of the NFL, but I also want to, before we jump into that, what was the highlight of your career in college? Is there one moment, one play, or just something that stood out where it was like, man, I'll cherish that memory forever?
So I have one memory, and the thing that's so crazy about this memory, it's more like, it's a memory / like, it's kind of hard to explain it. So like, it's a memory, but it's also like told to me. So it's kind of, so like this is why I say that, because with football you have so many plays that you play. Sometimes you don't remember every play, but you can watch it.
Yes.
You know, so like one of the biggest memories I have in playing in college, we played Wisconsin one year, and when we played Wisconsin,
at Wisconsin or at the shoe?
At Wisconsin.
Okay.
We played Wisconsin at Wisconsin. It was a night game. It was a real close game. And it's like a series of plays what happened. So basically, me and Melvin Gordon, he's a running back. He's an NFL running back. He went first round as well. We was playing each other, and there's another running back in the game called Monty Ball. Monty Ball, he was going, if he scored a touchdown in that game, he was going to break the all-time record for most touchdowns by any person in college football history. Like, if he scored in that game, like, on us, right? So, basically, that whole game, I was just saying, like, I don't know what my teammates were thinking, but I was like, this motherfucker's not scoring on me. Like, he's not, like, I'm sorry. Like,
you're not going to be on the highlight tape. Like, this is the one that put us over the edge.
He broke the record versus Ohio State. No, like I went out of my way to make sure that didn't happen. So, but during this time, Monty Ball got drafted like 4th round or something like that. But his backup was named Melvin Gordon, and Melvin Gordon ended up going in the 1st round years later. It was a play that gave Melvin Gordon the ball, and me and him ran into each other. We hit each other so hard. I folded up and like went into fetal position because basically like I had a concussion. Like I hit him so hard. Like, you know, if somebody gets
yourself out.
Yeah, somebody gets knocked out like how Usman would. Like he got knocked out.
And he was out.
He was out. You know what I'm saying? But like, I wasn't like stretched out, but I like curled up.
Yeah.
Right? So after that play, so this is before like they changed all the rules now. After that play, like they take me off the field, and then like Wisconsin's driving on us, right? This same series, Wisconsin's driving on us. They asked me like, "How you feeling? Everything all right?" Da 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 da. I'm like, I'm good. You know, like I had a little headache at the time, but I'm straight now. So boom, like they're about to score, and I just go to Coach Meyer. I'm like, "Yo, give me my helmet. I'm about to go in." And he's like, "You sure? You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, give me my helmet." Boom. So I go back in the game. That would never happen now. Like now, you can never do that. Like if somebody has any signs of like a concussion, they got knocked out, anything, you're out of the game for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And you might not play next week. You know, so I come back into the game, and then like they drive all the way down the field, and then they get to about the 1 or 2 yard line, and Moneyball gets the ball. And it's 4th and 1 on the 2-yard line. So they just needed to get the
first down.
A first down.
Yep.
And then they still have 4 more. Then they still have 4 more plays until the touchdown. So Moneyball gets the ball, and then he tries to jump over the pile into the end zone. Like, so he tries to jump over everybody into the end zone. I just had a feeling that he was going to do that. Like, I just had I was just like, I feel like this dude's going to try to jump over the pile. So I was like, before the play, I was like, hey, he going to jump over the pile. Like, everybody be ready.
Yeah.
So he jumped up, and when he jumped up, I jumped up and punched the ball out. Like, he tried to reach it, and I punched the ball out. And we recovered it and win the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he didn't score.
No.
Sick.
For the whole game.
The whole game.
Wow.
Yeah, he scored the next week, and they said on ESPN, Moneyball broke the touchdown record.
Now, did he play in the league?
Yeah, he played in the league. He played for the Denver Broncos, and Melvin Gordon actually would play for the Denver Broncos too. But he played with the Denver Broncos, and he played for somebody else. He kind of fell out pretty fast.
Now, and then what draft pick were you?
The first round, number 15th pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What was that feeling like?
Man, that feeling is crazy because like if any kid play a sport and they had any inclination like I want to go pro, at one point they said in the first round draft pick, Ryan Shazier gets drafted by their favorite team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like every kid, Simon probably did that when he was a little kid. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be baseball, basketball, tennis. They don't have a draft and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But like soccer, you know what I'm saying? So when like I was at the combine, and it was like, hey Ryan, we projecting you to go in the first 2 rounds. So with our projections and everything, you're probably gonna go in the first 2 rounds. We just got to know if you don't get drafted in the first round, would you be cool staying in New York for the second round? And I was like, yeah, like I'm cool with that. Like, you know, some people get upset because their ego says basically like, I should have got drafted in the first round. Now I look like a dumbass sitting here for 2 days. First of all, if you get drafted first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth,
you get drafted.
7th round,
I mean,
you're good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but unfortunately, like if I got drafted 6th round, I would have been mad. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be honest. I would have been mad because I would have been like, damn, I'm really good. Like but in day, like it's still your ego, basically like, man, like so that's why they ask you like, hey, would you stay? Because some guys like, I'm not getting drafted, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. So when they asked me that, I'm like, damn, like now all the people, basically the decision makers for most of the teams think I'm going to get drafted pretty early.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, all right, that feels pretty good. And then I get to New York, and they start like taking us places. I'm with Clowney, I'm with Odell, I'm with Aaron Donald, I'm with like all these guys, and I'm like, damn, like these like I'm really one of these like the top guys in college. Like like my whole life, I've been saying I want to get drafted in the first round. Like my whole life. And it's like, this is about to happen. So it was like you can't almost like people imagine it, but when you actually get there, it's like, yo, like this is unreal. Yeah. Because it's all a dream. Like most people, their only opportunity of going in the first round is on NBA 2K or Madden. Yeah. Like you don't get to really live that. You know, so when that happened to me and my family, I was just like, man, this is life-changing. This is crazy. And I'm actually getting to do something that I love to do. Most people don't actually get to do something that they truly love to do.
Now, is the drafts, is it kind of like, is it completely oblivious? Like you guys don't know where, or do the NFL teams kind of recruit you guys?
So sometimes it's completely oblivious. Sometimes you know where you're going. So like Clowney knew he was going number 1. If you know you're going number 1 overall,
you know where you're going.
You know where you're going. You know what I'm saying? Or like, let me say this: if you're like a top 5 pick, you're like, all right, I'm going to these top 5 teams. It just depending on like if the number 1 team wants to take me or they don't. If the number 1 team don't want to take me, I'm cool going to number 2 or number 3. You know what I'm saying?
Now, if you're going in the first round, it's pretty much. Because essentially how these picks work is like the worst team is be able to pick first, essentially, right?
Yeah.
it's almost like if you go into the worst team, how do you even have a chance of like
success?
Yeah, like of success. It's like, well, I know I'm going to the worst team, or at least it ain't gonna happen quick. Like you might be the first round draft pick, but you literally got. I'm the first pick, it's probably the worst team from last year that picked me.
But the thing is like, so sometimes it happens that you could be on a really good team and they just had a bad year, or somebody got hurt.
Yeah.
So now they have the number one pick, like they have a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
Like that happens to the 49ers sometimes. Like the 49ers, sometimes like they have a really good team, 2 or 3 pieces get hurt. Now they're like, oh, we only won 3 games. Or that happened to the Cowboys too. We only won 3 games. They get Michael Parsons. You know what I'm saying? Now they go to the playoffs.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So like sometimes that happens, or sometimes just like they're just a really bad team. So the Bengals, they were a really bad team, but then Joe Burrow came, and Joe Burrow immediately changed the whole script.
Yep.
You know, so like some players can do that, but I got drafted in the middle of the pack. So like in the middle of the pack, so I got drafted to the Steelers. There's like, we need one piece to help us go to the playoffs. I felt like I was that piece. We went to the playoffs the next year. You know what I'm saying? So like every team's a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't think I was going to the Steelers because when I got drafted and you go on pre-team visits. So like I went on 17 like pre-trip visits. It's 32
17?
Yeah, 17.
Jeez.
So like so basically that lets you know like down there half the league is interested in me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? While some people don't have as many. When I went to the Steelers, the linebacker coach at the time was like, hey, Ryan, you're a wonderful player. I'm not going to lie. I love your game, but I don't know why you're here. He's like, we already have 2 linebackers.
Yeah.
That's what he told me.
Yeah.
He's like, you most likely probably won't get drafted here. That's what the linebacker coach told me.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't like he's doing reverse psychology or anything like that. He was just like,
just being straight up.
He was being straight up. So I was like, all right, cool. So when I went to the draft, you know, it's all about ALP, right?
Yeah.
You gotta look good. You make ALP.
Yeah.
You know,
What'd you wear?
So I had a green suit on with some shoes, but I tried to look good, but my shoes was too tight. So at the draft, I took my shoes off, and I was like walking around with just socks on at the draft. But like people ain't looking like camera on your shoe, on your feet. You know what I'm saying? So I was walking around. I was like, I'm probably not gonna get drafted until I'm a really good player, but I was just like, just based off of what the teams need, I was like, I'm probably not gonna get drafted till like 15.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, I know I'm not going 1. If Ryan Shazier goes number 1, like I'm not going to be mad. You know what I'm saying? But like I was being real with myself. I'll probably be like 15 or later.
Yeah.
You know, so I had took my shoes off, and then around like the 13th pick, I was like, all right, I'm about to start getting drafted soon. I started tying my shoes, and then my agent comes up to me. He was like, hey Ryan, you about to go to the Dallas Cowboys.
That's my favorite team.
Yeah. There was the 16th pick.
Yeah.
It was on the 14th pick. He was like, Ryan, you about to go to the Dallas Cowboys. Like, they called my agent. We're drafting you, Jerry Jones. I went to Dallas as one of my teams.
Yeah.
Like, Jerry loved you. Like, when I went, we had a good relationship when we met. And he was like, they love you. You're getting drafted with the Dallas Cowboys pick is locked. Like, you're not going no further than that.
16.
No further than 16. Like, it was 14. At 16, they was drafting. So, like, that's when you kind of know, all right, I'm about to get drafted by this team. Literally, my phone rings. So, like, you're my agent. You're telling me, Ryan, you about to get drafted. Ding-ding-ding-ding, my phone ringing on the desk.
Yeah.
It's a Pittsburgh number. They call me. Hey, Ryan, is Art Rooney. Are you ready to, do you want to be a Steeler?
What if you say no?
You can say no.
And they'll say, all right, no? Or they'll be like...
It's rarely, like, sometimes people they'll still draft you, though. Sometimes, like, because the thing is, they put their card in.
Okay.
So, like, you know how big your ego has to be to say no?
Oh, I don't know. I would have to be... I would imagine huge.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to, like, it's only a certain amount of people. I think it's only, like, 2 dudes to ever say no. Eli Manning
Probably
was one
all
of them.
number 1 picks.
Yeah.
Where they can control their destiny.
Eli Manning was number 1, like, one of them. So, it's like 3 people. Eli Manning was one of them. Deion Sanders was one of them.
Deion.
And John Elway was one of them.
Okay.
So Deion he told the Lions, if you draft me, I'm going to ask for so much money, you're going to have to, he said, if you draft me, I'm going to ask for so much money, you're going to basically, like, have to, like, give me the whole team. And then, or he said, I'm going to the MLB draft. So you're going to draft me, and I'm going to just go play baseball. That's what Deion said. Eli Manning said, "Hey, I don't want to play here," and then they end up trading him for Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
And then John Elway didn't want to go to the team he went to, and he ended up going to the Denver Broncos. But you have to be like number one pick to do that.
So I gotta wrap up, and we could take this thing on forever. I want to ask just 2 or 3 speed questions. First, how quickly did you get paid in your from getting drafted? Did you see money immediately?
Yeah.
Pretty much same day?
No, it's not
you got
same
a big
day.
old bonus.
Yeah, you get a big bonus. So basically, you get a signing bonus. So any guy that goes with a team, you get a signing bonus. So basically, you assign your check, and then in business terms, it's not like AIL, which is awesome. But in most businesses, you get paid in 15 to 30 business days.
Yeah.
So I signed my check. I signed off on my deal, and then in 15 business days, in my bank account, I had $5 million.
That's so nuts.
Yeah.
That's so nuts.
Yeah, well, $5 million. Then they take taxes, so it was 3.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah, my dog. Hey, any way you want to cut it. Okay, so just two quick questions for both you guys. Let's go with favorite movie.
Oh man, that's a tough one.
I already know his, but I gotta let the audience know.
Oh man, that's a tough one. So I have multiple, but one of my favorite movies is Focus.
Focus.
About
The Magic.
With Will Smith.
Yeah.
And the reason I like it is because so many people, their focus is on so much stuff that doesn't matter.
Yes. Yeah, that's
you know
fire.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
so
fire.
basically if you focus on the right stuff, you can get what you want in life.
Yep.
So
that's fire. And then, are you still The Godfather?
My movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I don't have a ton of.
You ain't
I
a
don't
big
watch
movie.
a bunch
You
of
don't watch
TV
Yeah,
movies
you
and stuff like
me
that.
and Joey
But
can't
I'd probably
talk to
go
him.
Godfather.
Okay, Godfather. And then favorite restaurant for you guys?
I talked to somebody about this today. So my favorite restaurant, in the whole country.
In the whole country.
Oh, Carbone's.
Carbone's. Out of, is that Miami?
So the original Carbone's is in New York.
Look at you.
New
Don't
York?
be stealing my stuff, dog. You been to Carbone's in New York?
Yes.
That's your jam?
That's my
Have
spot.
we talked about that before?
I don't know. But
Look at this
That's me
bonding.
and Nat's
Look
spot.
at this bonding right
Yeah.
now.
That's
the
You guys are,
spot. Yeah, the one-
he's going to
yeah.
text
Yeah.
Nat or Katie and be like, yo, we got to set something up for Shazier. We got to do a Carbone
Yeah.
So
trip.
my first time trying it, I had it in the Aria. They have a Carbone's in the Aria in Vegas. Then I'm eating it. I'm like, God damn, this tastes good.
There might be a Carbone's here.
Yeah, they might have
I was
one.
looking and I was like,
They got one in Miami. Have you been to the one in New York City?
Yes, I've been to the one in New York, the original.
Yeah.
Fire.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, that's my
my
favorite. That's my
one
favorite
right
restaurant
there.
of all time.
Carbone's. I'm going to have to put that down. So Carbone's for both you guys. Right?
Italian.
For you as well, Simon?
That's mine by far. Not even close.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's up there. That's up there.
That's cream of the crop.
For top.
You talking about food?
Top 3 for me for sure.
When you talking about food,
Right.
it's gonna be very hard for you to find a spot that's going to top Carbone's.
Yeah? I don't think I've ever had Carbone's. Ever. So
We
this is
gotta go
the
together.
last thing we got to get off. If you could leave your kids one thing, what would you leave them? We'll start with you and then we'll go to you. You can leave your kids one thing, what would you leave them? I need this. 100 years from now, if I decide to have a kid.
So
Or a cat.
like something realistic or something that you wish you can give them.
Whatever. You can give them all the money in the world. You could give them a lesson, a book.
So I wish
a kicking ass.
One thing I wish I could have left if I could leave my kids, it would be the adversity that I had to go through.
The adversity.
Yeah.
Okay. I respect that a lot.
Because it's just
I think the same thing, but I don't want to beat them. Because that's what I went. I was like, my dad just beats the shit out.
yeah.
So I'm like,
I used to get beatings too.
Yeah.
But all my dad beatings were we understood why we got beat. He didn't just beat us to beat us.
All right,
but
yeah.
I would say the adversity, and the reason I would say the adversity is because just me and Simon talked about this before. The way our kids are going to grow up, they're going to be blessed, regardless.
yes.
So it's we have to make adversity for them.
Yeah.
While we had to have our own adversity coming up. And it's a blessing to give our kids something that we never had.
Yes.
But it's also a curse because now they have something that we never had to deal with.
Yes.
Not having as much adversity.
Yes.
It's different adversity, but not having the
Yes.
adversity that we had to deal
Trying
with.
to emulate it, create.
Yeah. So basically giving my kids the pain I had to go through.
Yeah, like a 7-on-7. You got to just simulate the game.
Yeah.
You're about to go 7-on-7. Let's go.
Yeah.
Strap up. What are you leaving your kids?
Man, values, principles, and I'm lucky I got to go second, so I was sitting here thinking about it. a little bit. And I'm thinking, man, the values, I don't know, was it Pitbull, Christian Armando, that said, ask for money, get advice, ask for advice, get money twice. And so I think, I would want to give them some advice on certain things, one being the foundation that I'm trying to instill in them with having a relationship with the Lord. To me, I can trace my life back to before I had a relationship with the Lord and after I had a relationship with the Lord. And I came from a background where I really, I didn't tell many people, but I didn't believe in God, for really most of my childhood. I didn't really believe in God till I was an adult. And I did it begrudgingly, and so I was able to see the differences in my life and what happened and what transpired since I developed a relationship with the Lord. And I can't think of any one thing that happened to me that was any more important in my life. I don't think I would be married right now. I don't think I would be the father that I am right now. I don't think I would have the business or would have been able to handle the success so young, if it wasn't for my relationship with the Lord, nor the adversities, that I've been able to lean on the Lord through when I had nobody else. When you make your way to the top and you find you're at the top and there's really nobody to look to when you go through adversities because you become the person that everybody goes to and the only place you got to look is up, it does something special, to you in those dark moments. And so I would want my kids to have a relationship with the Lord that I have. And next, I would want them to have a work ethic. I would want to teach them how to outwork people. I feel like if you outwork people in whatever it is that you're doing, good things are going to happen. You're going to blow by 99% of people because people don't work hard long enough to get what they want. People get disinterested and are interested in the outcome and not interested in the process enough. And I think you could just outwork people to getting most of the things that you want in life. I would want to teach them about loyalty, how to be loyal to people. I think loyalty is rare. And then lastly, I would want to teach them about discipline, like having discipline to do things that you don't feel like doing, which kind of goes along with work ethic. But I think if you're willing to, if you got a relationship with the Lord, if you outwork people, if you're loyal, to people and you're not shady and you switch up on people, I'm a Browns fan, dog. You know what I mean? Like one of my best friends in the world is a Steeler, and that's going to be the only jersey that I'll ever hang up, from the Steelers. I think, in my house is because of Ryan. But I'm a loyal dog, and we've been getting the brakes beat off us, for a long time, and that's just a symbol of like how I am as a person. Like that's who I'm rolling with, win, lose, or draw. And so loyalty, but really the discipline, is something that's critical. I think most people can't apply discipline to their life. I want to eat that, having the power to not eat that. I want to touch that, having the power to not touch that. I don't feel like doing that, having the power to get yourself to do that. We were talking football. Nick Saban defines discipline as, there's something that I want to do that I know that I shouldn't do. Can I get myself to not do it? And there's something that I don't want to do that I need to do. Can I get myself to do it? And I would want to give my kids the wherewithal and the learning about life to be able to apply discipline to themselves in certain areas of life, because typically the road that you need to travel to get to where you want to go is going to be paved with discipline of doing some things that you don't feel like doing. And lastly, as we close out, man, I would want my kids, I would want my children. I used to tell Mike Vasu, the best compliment that I could pay him as a person, man, was that I hope my daughter one day grows up and meets a guy like him, because he's such a good dude. You know what I mean? And when I look at my children, I would say I hope, my children, my son, could grow up and have similar traits that you have, Tristan. I'm so proud of you and the person that you've become and what you've been able to do over the last 5 years. It's, they tell, there's a quote out there that says, if you really want to test a man, give him success. And that's when you really see what somebody's about, what they're made of. And it seems like the more success that you have, the more humility that you're able to walk with. And you got that balance of that 51-49. You got enough confidence to assert yourself in areas to where you're not a coward, but you have enough humility to give respect and show respect to people and not make anybody feel like you're better than them. And you're so grateful, for everything, man. You're grateful for people that have done things for you. You show humility, you show care for your people, you show gratitude for people that have paved the way for you in the business. And I think you're a great person for young people to want to look up to, and to whom much is given, much is required, man. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Ron's not perfect. But being that you're not perfect, man, I think that people could do a whole lot worse than learning from you. As if people got a chance to follow anybody and they got a chance to follow you as a young person, I would bet on that stock all day. I would bet on you all day because of your work ethic, your commitment, your discipline, your sacrifice, your loyalty, your humility, and the way that you walk. And it seems like you're just building momentum with the success that you have, but you're building momentum with the humility and the maturity at the same time. And most of the time, the more success people have, the less humility that they have. Yeah. And it seems like the more success that you have, the more gratitude and the more humility that you learn to walk with. I think you're more humble now than you were in the first year that you came into the business, and you've made more money now than you made in the first year in the business.
Yes, sir.
And so kudos to you, man. Congratulations, to everything. And this is just a start, and it's an honor. I'm grateful to have people like you to coach and to be on this, this journey with, man. And I got nothing but love for you. And the same thing.
Love you.
Same thing for Ryan, man. A lot of people in Ryan's shoes would be crying and complaining and poor me and looking back and have every single reason to be justified, doing that. Ryan talked about, imagine as a kid, your name getting called. You get your name called first round of draft, and then you go be the best player at your position. You're an all-pro. At the same time, in your first 4 years, man, you got nothing but upside, and then all of a sudden that's gone, in a minute, and you got to restart and literally teach yourself how to walk again.
Yeah.
And teach yourself how to own a business and teach yourself how to do things that you never even thought about that you was going to ever need to do after making millions of dollars and, and all of that stuff, and to have the character and the wherewithal to keep it all together, be positive, and then go out of your way to coach and encourage other people. Every Thursday, this cat got a call with other people struggling with spinal cord injuries, goes out, turns a negative into a positive, serving people with the Ryan Shazier spinal cord fund that he does, and walking the way that he's walked, working hard, building up multiple businesses right now, 6-figure businesses right now, making tons of money, not by someone's standards that's getting $5 million ACH the first day they go to the NFL, but by most people's standards. If you look at what you've been able to accomplish in a short few years of business, man, like 91 percentile, of people, and you still a rookie in the business game, first couple years in the game. And I think it's going to be the same outcome that you had on the football field. You just did it since you were 5. I think you're going to have the exact same outcome in business as an entrepreneur from what I see so far. In you, it's just going to take a few years, but I think I can see you doing things equal or above and beyond what you would have been doing on the football field with your brain, with your mind, and with your heart, and with your spirit right now. So just an honor to be on here with y'all young cats, with y'all young studs, Ryan and Tristan, and I love you guys, and thanks for having me on the podcast, Tristan.
Love you, Coach. Thank you. You guys can find Simon Arias, Ryan Shazier on Instagram in Pittsburgh as well. So Simon Arias, that's his handle, and then Shazier, that's his handle. Ryan's got a book, Walking Miracle. So I read that. It's a great book. Simon's got his podcast and many books inside
the
it.
Grindcast.
The Grindcast. So make sure you guys check that out. Subscribe. If you guys are interested in a career opportunity as well, you guys can reach out to these guys. They're out in Pittsburgh. You check out the office in Wexford. Just look for the office with all the Lamborghinis and McLarens and everything. So appreciate you guys. This was awesome. I think we got well over time in. So we're good to go. Appreciate you.
Let's go.
Let's go.